prisoner, Fallout, was certainly the most bizarre and controversial of the whole series. Although the story followed on from where Once Upon a Time leaves off, there was in fact a gap of almost a year between the making of the two episodes. After the decision to end the series had been taken, Fallout was written hurriedly by Patrick McGoohan, who also directed the episode. The series certainly went out with a bang.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of fragmented ideas, things that we discussed over a long period of time that obviously stuck in Pat's head. And there was a lot of sense in it, and there was a reason, there was a theme in his own sort of thinking. It may have escaped some people, but I mean, I understood it. I mean, it was completely his episode. I understood it better than most because I knew Patrick and the way he thinks. But I'm not surprised that other people found it a little bit oblique.
Principal film editor for this last episode was Noreen Ackland, who recalls her initial confusion with the story.
I had no idea what it was about. I've never worked in such a fog. Never. I mean, I had the script. You've seen this. Well, you've seen the script. Had the script and I read it and I thought, well, I really can't make head and tail of it. I mean, my theory was, when I read it, well, we're all in ourselves. We're a prisoner to our own being. That was my theory. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. Well, this is what I felt when I read the script. But you see, it was so, I can't say it was badly shot or anything like that. It was just, well, I couldn't understand it when I received the rushes. And when we ran the rushes, first day we all went in to see them. You know, that's the dailies. And normally the director will sit somewhere close to the editor to give notes, like Dave used to. We all sat in there waiting. And Dave came and sat next to me and he said, I'll move in a minute when Pat comes in, because he should be near you. And the lights went down. And Pat hadn't arrived. And the door opened, he came in, and Dave said, here's your seat, Pat, next to Noreen. And Pat said, oh. He didn't actually say anything, he just said, oh. So we went through the rushes. He left, not a word. And Dave just went like that to me. And the next day, it was the same, exactly the same, and that went on for a week. And then he suddenly came and sat next to me. I think he'd seen some cut stuff. I showed him the first sequence, or I'd had to go down and ask him a question.
The first sequence to go before the cameras was the long walk down the rock-faced corridor. This walk was originally intended to be substantially longer, with the corridor in two distinct sections, the first of which is lined with jukeboxes playing the Beatles' song, All You Need Is Love. Upon reaching the dungeon-style door, this was opened by the butler to reveal the second section containing frogmen riding bicycles and tractors. At the far end of this corridor was another door with Stop, Wait, Go in illuminated letters, and with the familiar Welcome sign on the reverse side.
Gosh, that first walk down the corridor, because he came up to the cutting room, it was the only time he actually sat in the cutting room with me. No, I sat at the movie and he was leaning over. And he kept saying, backwards, forwards, stop, backwards, forward. Absolutely no sense at all. Try this, try that. I was almost in tears at the end because I didn't know what I was doing. Going backwards and forwards and saying, stop, stop, stop. And this went on for about 2 hours. Just on that walk down the corridor with the jukebox going. And then he said, put it back as it was, and went out. And then and after that, And I really was. You know, I mean, he couldn't see this, I don't think, but because he was behind me. But I thought, shall I leave it? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm useless. And he went out, and then in the afternoon, this magnificent bouquet of flowers came, with a note in, with apologies and, you know, appreciation, etc.
Goodness.
And then after that, he was marvellous.
During the abruptly cut short second series of prisoner episodes, the stories certainly seemed to become more way out, and the programme seemed to be heading in a direction very different from that envisaged in the early days.
Well, Patrick is a very free improviser. I think he wouldn't be afraid to shift from a formula if he wished to say something slightly different. I mean, he felt that he wanted to say things, and if he could see a way of expanding those thoughts, I mean, he had great big ideas, like the rocket taking off. I know he didn't have the big facilities of some directors, you know, on a big feature film for that sort of thing. But I know it was tremendously important. He worked so hard to get the right effect. I remember he worked himself. He almost killed himself with hard work. Killed himself. He was doing everything, and yet he wasn't selfish. I peeped into your magazine downstairs, so I've said this story before. I mean, he was extremely free with people to use their creative energies. He suddenly said to me about the speech at the end that the president makes. It was the president, wasn't it?
Yes.
He said, you write it, Kenny. Ken, you write it. Kenneth, he would have called me. Now, there would be no familiarity like Ken or Kenny. Kenneth, he said, you can do this. You write that. You know the sort of thing. And I wrote it, and that's the way it was. He wasn't the sort of man to say that's marvelous or anything like that. You get no nonsense from him. But it was obviously acceptable because he made no objection.
To a large extent, shooting of this episode adhered to the original script, with only a few insignificant dialogue changes. However, one scene was not shot due to its impractical nature. This scene was to have shown the president in one of the evacuation helicopters looking down on the deserted village. In addition to this change, 2 specific sequences were deleted in order to ensure that the episode ran to its contractual length. One of these was the stop, wait, go corridor scene already mentioned, and the other was an additional speech by the president not originally in the main script, which seems to have been added as an afterthought. This was intended to be inserted during the resuscitation process of the late number 2, Leo McGoohan.
While our brief resuscitation process is in operation, it would not be inopportune to reiterate the infallibility of our democratic urge. Always in our community, not to mention less sophisticated systems, there are doubters, the revolutionaries, those dissatisfied with our probe towards human perfection. It should be borne in mind by these doubting Thomases that beyond our traditional human electorate, and here I refer to our distinguished band of representatives ranged behind me, covering every facet of our way of life, even beyond them, with all due respect, is our great answer.